So
Okay, hello everybody, and this is take two due to some technical difficulties. Welcome to the Weirdly Magical podcast for the full moon, full blood red supermoon and wolf moon that is on the 21st of January, Universal Time, 5:16 a.m. and it's at 0 degrees of Leo. And I am Louise Eddington. I'm an astrologer and writer of the book Modern Astrology, and I also do some shamanic practices.
And I'm Jen Duchen. Hi, everyone. And I'm an Akashic reader, healer. I do numerology, and I am the creator of the Illuminating Journey Cards.
Woo-hoo. And before we get going, we both want to mention that we are putting together a 2019 webinar presentation that's going to be in a couple of weeks. What date did we say? Forgotten already. 24th. And that's going to be available very soon. It's going to be $25 to save your seat, and for that you also get a PDF of key dates and key energies for the year, and also the recordings emailed to you. So look for that on my page, Jen's page, everywhere on social media. It'll be available very soon. And if you just know that you want to be in it, just message one of us and we can tell you how to sign up anyway. So, okay, so this full moon eclipse, this is what a bang of a start to the new year. Honestly, we had Mars going into Aries, and then we've had one eclipse already as we record this on the 8th. So we've had a new moon eclipse. We've also just had Uranus turning direct. Eris turns direct on the 10th. After that, well, really now that Uranus is direct, we have all planets direct until the beginning of March. So it's really kind of full speed ahead. Everything's kind of all these sign changes. Venus moved into Sagittarius as well. And then we're moving up to this second eclipse of the year already. And as I said at the start, it's at 0 degrees of Leo and Aquarius because it's a full moon eclipse, so it's an opposition. And on the eclipse chart, there is a grand cross, a cardinal grand cross from the moon's nodes, which are in Cancer and Capricorn. So this eclipse kind of straddles the old energy, the Leo Aquarius energy, and the new, the Capricorn Cancer. It's very much finishing up the energy that was begun on the new moon eclipse on August the 21st, 2017, the total solar eclipse, the Great American Eclipse, as it was called. So really think back to what shifted for you from that eclipse. I know it was tremendous for me. We'll also be looking back a little bit to 2001 and 2010. We'll be looking at the Grand Cross, which involves Pallas Athena, Eris, and Uranus. And we'll be looking at a few other things. So we'll let Jen kick off, talking about the number 0.
Woo!
Yay!
Howling at the moon. No. So what's interesting for me is of course, the 0 degrees of the moon and the sun, 0.51. So the 0 is the breath of God or the divine. It's that opening or portal that takes us into a new space. So it's a reset button. It's right at the beginning of Leo and Uranus. So if we think back to that, the 21st, August 21st, when we had the solar eclipse, it was at 29 degrees, which is right at the end. And of course, it's an 11, and that's a different kind of portal. But it's like we've gone all the way backwards traversing the idea of how we think of ourselves in terms of needing to be important or needing to make a statement, and coming back to that zero reset where we're finding ourselves or being encouraged to find ourselves in a whole new way, express ourselves, not because we want to make an impression, like, look at me, everyone, but more that we want to express who we are through this energy of love and childlike wonder, like, oh, I can express myself, I can explore, especially when you're having this Leo and Uranus kind of stretching going on, right? It's the idea of new ideas, unexplored territory, maybe even that tribal energy of how that works, how we look at tribal energy, and this idea of being a child or being childlike or free to explore and play and show up a way we haven't before. So we have to do this in order to shift what's happening. And of course, with the eclipse, we're having that the sun or the earth eclipsing. You've got these circles, right? The planet, the earth, the moon are all circles that are changing position and changing how they're bringing us the light. And I love that it's a blood red moon, because blood is about life. And when we talk about the wolf, right, the howling moon, of the idea of the wolf is like a messenger. It's reminding us to kind of get up and wake up, and our blood starts to move, our energy starts to shake up, and we're revitalized.
And I don't know about you, but I've definitely experienced a definite increase in conscious embracing of living in joy and childlike glee and having fun with life more since that August the 21st eclipse, with all these eclipses in Leo Aquarius. I've definitely felt that uptick in, you know, if it doesn't bring me joy, I'm not going to do it.
Which, you know, it's like the universe is inviting us to recognize that the way to change our lives is to embrace or to work through joy, to enter life through joy or playfulness. Or, you know, we can't change things that happen, but we can change how we see it. And if we can see it with greater lightness and greater joy, then we have more freedom. Right?
I have a friend on Facebook who always says operate from joy. That's her hashtag. And she means it for everything in life, you know, even if you're like scrubbing the floor or the toilets, do it joyfully.
Well, that's it, right? We can go, oh, this sucks, I don't want to do it. Or, hey, you know, I want the benefit and I might as well make the best of it. That's kind of the phrase that always comes to my mind. And I think especially when we can give ourselves permission to lighten up, you know, that expression is very much that energy. And of course, we're in a 19-year, no, the 19-year, what am I saying? We're in a 12-year. A 19 plus 1 plus 9 plus 2, that's 12. And the 12, 1 and 2 is about joy. It's about, you know, we find wisdom, we find connection through joy, not through like, do it my way or, you know, get all serious. Like, we're not really going to learn anything or change if we don't embrace the energy of joy.
And I just want to mention, while we're still on the zero, that I'm just going to hold up for those on YouTube, but anybody at home can look up on Google the Fool Tarot, any tarot deck, but this is the Thoth deck that I have, Thoth. And, you know, I always think of the Fool as a very joyful character as well, because he's kind of just fooling around. He's like having fun. He knows that the card represents limitless possibility, and the Fool just knows that life's full of this limitless possibility. So that's another way to look at it as well. And I find this full moon, the energy of it is very is very potent, despite the fact, as Jen and I were discussing as we prepared, it's kind of got no real major aspects directly to it. but it's pulled by the nodes into this cardinal grand cross that I've mentioned before, because an eclipse is always close to the moon's nodes. And the closer it is to the moon's nodes, the more total the eclipse is. And the moon's nodes in this eclipse are at 26 degrees of Capricorn and Cancer, Cancer being the north node. And they are in a cardinal grand cross, which is going to really affect us for most of the first few months of this year, with Pallas Athena over in Libra, and Eris and Uranus over there in Aries. Eris will stay connected to this grand cross for a long time. And both Eris and Uranus in Aries are really kind of kicking it up and really shaking up the status quo. But it's all about identity, the cardinal grand cross. It's about, in Aries, who am I? In Cancer, who am I deep inside? What are my emotions? Or who am I in my family as well? In Libra, where Pallas Athena is, and she represents wise justice, really. That's who am I in relationship. And then in Capricorn, it's who am I in the world. So we've got all this energy about shifting identity as these nodes and eclipses really shift into Cancer and Capricorn. After this last one, we're kind of getting this last burst of a reminder about living joyfully and creatively and playfully and open-heartedly is another one, before we shift into this really real period of finding ourselves again after all the major shifts we've had.
Yes, yes. And remembering that, of course, the Grand Cross is touching all the ancient gateways, right? These are portals, these are doorways that are allowing us to reset the playing field. This is who we are. And bringing to mind the idea of courage, right? That's the heart. Actually the 0 and then the 51 that makes a 6. So 6 is all about love and, you know, finding that truth or balance in yourself. And again, so is the Grand Cross, I think. It feels like there's that energy of finding or fine-tuning the balance of, you know, how do you walk that tightrope of being in joy and in experience? Because here we're entering a time when we have to be more focused and more deliberate. And when we're in joy, and we can roll up our sleeves with greater ease, and we can allow some of the horrible stuff to instead of stopping us or trapping us, it can kind of we can find it easier to move through, because it's not as heavy, it's not as hard, because we're like, well, where is the light? How can we look at this differently? How can I do this differently? That is very powerful, and it's also very exciting. I mean, to find our image or find the sense of who we are, knowing we have the freedom to choose, which we didn't have before, right? Well, I mean, we can look at all the kinds of things that are going on right now, and it's pretty exciting. If we look at the US, you know, the government stuff going on, right? Women, these people coming in, doing different things, and shaking up the establishment. So it's giving us permission to go, oh, I can shake up my establishment or the established rules. So it's like the doors are opening, these portals, these zeros, and we can enter them. I don't know if we mentioned that this is the third of the 5-0.
Yes, so it's the middle one. So yes, the middle of 5-0-degree full moons, and I always think the middle of anything is kind of a pivot point as well, a shift. We're shifting energies. We're shifting from fixed to cardinal, which Leo and Aquarius are fixed signs, and we're definitely moving into a cardinal period again, and yeah, we're in the middle of 5 of these zeros, and on all the new moons at 15 degrees for a while as well. It's kind of like we've got these patterns going on, and it's like
well, the universe really wants us to get it, you know.
Oh, it does.
course, we're in a January is a 13 universal month, which is a very Uranian and goddess-like energy, because it's about kind of earthquake weather. It's that energy that shakes us up, forces us to look at things in a different way. You know, we just can't keep doing it the way we were, because things are just going to shift around us. And so the only thing we have that makes sense or is real is who we are. So the quicker we connect, or the more we allow ourselves to playfully explore, creatively explore who we are, the easier it is to, you know, venture like the fool over the cliff.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, hate to be like the, you know, I think when we look back at 2001 and 2010, so 2001, eclipses go in 18-year cycles. So the same eclipses we have now are happening in 2001. And then we have the half eclipse as well, the in between bit. Both those eclipses brought massive earthquakes. The Haiti one was in 2010, and 2001, of course, was also 9/11, which happened a bit later. But you know, it's quite possible we'll have actual physical kind of earthquakes again, or kind of something shocking and earth shaking. You know we've got all these major kind of political things going on in the world, Brexit in the UK, and the Yellow Jackets in France, and USA, we've got the government shutdown and all this kind of aggro and fighting. If you can stay though in what we're talking about, in that place of operating from joy and coming at everything lightly and more playfully in your own life, and how you deal with these things, you'll just survive them so much more joyfully. It's the word, you know, because there's, to a degree, you can't do much about it. So what's the point of kind of getting all upset about it? Yeah.
And I think, you know, in that point, like if you think about it, if you think about all of the things that are happening, and just as if you're having something that is that fills you with grief or sadness, like people dying or losing a loved one, joy isn't telling you to deny any of these things. It's telling you to jump in the pool and be with that. Find your creative energy, your kind of sense of lightness, your sense of openness. I'm going to open myself up. Because if we think about all of these things that are happening, like the shutdowns and the rebellion, right? The very urinalious kind of energy. There's people that want others to follow them and say, no, it's supposed to be hard and you're supposed to do it my way and I want you to suffer. And of course, then there are people rising up and going, no, I want to experience this through joy. I want to have a different experience. I've had thousands of years of suffering. We don't need to do this the same way. It's not working. Yes. And we can't be afraid of the conflict that is happening. Instead, we've got to allow ourselves to feel whatever it is that we feel. If we imagine we're in a pool of love, and that, things will happen regardless, right? But it's how we play the game that will change our point of view, and the end result is changed by our approach.
Exactly. And to kind of switch gears a tiny bit while we're on this chart for the eclipse, also involved in the eclipse, it's a very complex chart. We can't possibly cover every little bit of it, but we'd be remiss if we didn't mention, that almost all the energy in the chart is at the very end of signs, the last degrees, but also the middle. And we have a square between Jupiter and Venus over there in Sagittarius, and Neptune in Pisces. And of course, Neptune rules Pisces, and Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So it's a very powerful square that's going to happen 3 times this year. Jupiter is at the 15-degree mark, where all those new moons and solar eclipses are right now. Not all at Sagittarius, but at the number 15. Venus is conjunct. All three energies, Jupiter, Venus, and Neptune, are generally seen as more kind of benefic energies. They're more about faith, belief, beauty, harmony, peace, all those kind of things. And we've got this tension square, but squares are also dynamic. They bring change. They bring the urge to actually do something with the energies. So, amongst all the other things we're talked about, I see the Jupiter Venus squaring Neptune in Pisces as an opportunity for almost a real spiritual upgrade. A real I don't even like the word upgrade, so I don't know why I used it, but it's kind of it kind of feels it implies something was bad, but it's kind of a more connectedness. It really a renewed faith, a renewed kind of idealism that's got that kind of energy. How do you see that square, would you think?
Yeah, I think it's true that it's an opportunity to really re-see beauty and re-see everything through the eyes of hope, right? Eyes of joy. Instead of it being negative, we have this opportunity. It's like a window is opening, like, and it's just everything's being pulled apart, and what maybe what we have seen or have named as beauty. And what comes to mind is, a lot of times in our society, we've named things like physical beauty, like that's been declared by, say, males will say what a beautiful female is or something. And now when I look at this that's happening there, the square, to me, it's like people going, you don't decide what is my beauty, right? I get to decide my beauty. I get to express my beauty. I get to take what I know and kind of harvest it. It feels like there's this opportunity to really harvest something personal and spiritual and very much in an awakening thing. Venus and Neptune at 14 degrees, which is this number that is the 5, about change, but it's also about speaking out, declaring or describing your experience, not letting somebody else say what your experience is. It's like that. There's a quote or something like, if you want to create your own history, then you're the one that has to kind of put the storyline out there, right? And that's what this feels like to me. It's like, it doesn't matter how you do it, whether you're painting, whether you're speaking, whatever it is,
or even on yourself. You and I have been on this path for a little while, but I'm seeing more and more women kind of stop. I'm not saying everybody has to do this before everybody goes freak out, but it's about your personal thing. It's about rediscovering their natural beauty. Stopping coloring their hair, stopping wearing as much makeup. There's even a movement. I don't know if you've seen it, Jen. Have you seen the Facebook post
about what?
About stopping shaving for a month and walking around completely hairy? Women. Yeah, there's a whole movement to do this and and to walk around with your forests on your legs and things, and just to challenge these imposed rules, if you want to. I'm not saying I'm going to stop shaving my legs, although it's winter, so I don't show them. But.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's really the point, is whatever it is, we've got to explore these things to see, is this for me, or how do I express myself?
Yeah.
And what comes to mind is that woman Cortez.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Yeah.
It's interesting. She has a name that's kind of hard to, remember, for me anyway. But what comes to mind is when they had that video of her, they found a video of her dancing at a party or something, and so she chose to bring joy into it by dancing and going, well, they don't know that,
Congress women can dance too.
right? So there's that joyful, playful thing. She could get mad and try to prove her point, but look, what's more powerful? She's showing how joy is so powerful because she's not offended by their ridiculousness. She's just laughing with them, right? She's not even mocking them. She's just being direct and laughing. And I did want to mention what I think is a pretty cool thing is the 21st. I know that the moon is 20th in the States, but in most of the States, I think all of it. But the 21st, that number is the number of truth, right? Today, the truth will set you free, and it's your truth that sets you free. When you can do this, when you can let your hair grow on your legs, or not stop coloring your hair, whatever it is that feels like I just want to express myself so I can at least find out who I am,
or paint, even if you're no good at it, or who's to judge what's good at it anyway. I saw something the other day saying everybody should paint, even if you're not an artist, because it's just releasing something in you. So, all those energies it is about finding all this creativity in yourself. Yeah,
because we have been silenced for so long, and so now it's the time to go. It's not the time to know, like we don't jump from, oh, I'm this, now I know who I am.
No.
It's an exploration, right? So we go, oh, well, let me just take off all this crap I've been wearing and explore and experiment so I can get an idea of what's to me.
Exactly. I mean, I'm doing my own experiment of going braless because I hate them. I don't think my husband's too impressed. He doesn't care. He doesn't care that much, but
But I think to that point, it's an excellent point that even if your spouse or somebody in your life is disapproving, or kind of like maybe not even disapproving, but kind of like, hey, what's going on? This is different. It shouldn't stop us.
Exactly.
We can find the amusement in it, right? Like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Change careers. I see a lot of people now are changing careers.
Right?
So,
yeah.
Stop wearing bras or whatever it is that feels like you're gaining a sense of freedom, like from a culture that is insisted that we behave, or we wear foundation garments,
or we don't swear if we're a congresswoman. Oh, that.
Oh yes, I know. Right? Ridiculous, especially nowadays, right?
Oh, damn well she only got called out because she's a woman as well.
I know, right? Because she's a Democrat, a woman
as well as a woman. Yeah, she's not backing down. She says she doesn't regret it at all. So she's the same as let's just call her AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. All these women are the same. There's that Somali woman as well. She's really bold as well. There's and it's a lot of the female energy is coming out very bold, which kind of brings me back to that Cardinal Grand Cross. I mean, Eris is kind of the ultimate in boldness, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she embodies Eris to my mind. If you look at her chart, it's really powerful in her chart. But Pallas Athena over in Libra, she's no softie either. She's, if you look at the symbol, Venus is the cross with a circle on top, and Pallas Athena is like the Venus symbol, but it's squared off. It's like a square on its side, so it's a diamond on top of the cross. I always kind of look at her as Venus squared, so she's a bit tougher, a bit harder nailed, a bit like she doesn't kind of care what people think as much, maybe, and stuff like that. And they're really, because they're both squaring the moon's nodes on the eclipse and going forward for months, and anything square to their nodes is really pivotal. I really think this this more loving yet tough female energy is really coming back in. And again, it's not about men and women per se, but you know, I spend a lot of time on Facebook. And I'm quite political, so I've been, I get involved in these discussions. I'm noticing that they're actually generally becoming more good-natured. People are fighting tooth and nail, but almost laughing about it at the same time as they fight, which is kind of pleasant, I find.
Makes it joyful. There's nothing wrong with having discussion and lively discussion. I'm actually, shocked why people get so scared when somebody has a different opinion or comes across a little hard about it. But that's just, that's passion, right?
Yeah.
And we can come across passionate. And I think, like, you're right, this squaring with the female energy coming out, which is something we've been lacking. The strong female has had this kind of thing, like, oh, she's butch, or she's, I don't know, some of these weird things that sort of like a negative. She's a bitch, she's a this, she's a that are all kind of, oh, it's not allowed. Like, a woman's not allowed to be tough. She's not allowed to, swear or do any of these things. And of course, all of that stuff's going out the window because these women are younger, so they've grown up in a different environment, and they're not powered like, their mothers may have been, because, oh, a woman can't get in it. There were so many rules, and now women are making the rules, right? So that balance, and let's be honest, even men are desiring to have a softer, more open side. They want to have those relationships. I mean, all those stories about women are so hard to understand and all that bullshit to kind of separate the two.
Oh, I know.
Right? Nobody wants it.
That damn book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus.
I know, it's such bullshit.
We've all got Mars, we've all got Venus.
Exactly.
And Venus is a blazing hot planet, and Mars has water on it, which is a feminine element. So,
There you go. So those kind of stories that people have manufactured to keep people in their place are dispersing with all of these energies that are changing things up. I think it's exciting that Mars is at 13 degrees in Aries, because, of course, Aries, the fire, this new kind of energy coming in, and 13 is that feminine number of the divine, divine feminine. And that's the number that shakes you up, that breaks down old systems, that insists that you create something new, a new foundation, a new pattern. So, like it or not, the energy comes in, it tears things apart, and
and I do want to mention, you mentioned Mars, and I was like, oh yes, I meant to say that. I already mentioned that Jupiter is in its own sign. It's in the sign it rules. Neptune's in Pisces that it rules. Saturn is in Capricorn that it rules. Mars rules Aries. Having 4 planets like that, and 3 of the very outer planets, the slower moving ones, all in their own signs at the same time, is unbelievably powerful, actually, because when a planet is in the sign it rules, its strength is just amplified. So, this is hugely powerful energy all round, and it's initiating energy. It's saying, get things done, build things, grow things, start your new projects. Don't let all these old doubts and limiting beliefs hold you back. It's really time to kind of get moving.
Yes, right. We're being shaken to our core so that we're breaking out of whatever constraints we have. And it's giving us the courage. Again, we've talked about the courage, the kura, the heart of the lion, right? The courage to ignore or laugh at those that have controlled us. And the thing, even our doubts that have controlled us, like, oh, I can't share my stuff. Now we're like, well, I have to do this. Like, I'm being forced into this lane to do these things I've always desired and denied. And I think, as you said, with these planets in their home signs, it is an epic uh, um, shaping
Hmm.
for, generations to come. And
Oh, absolutely.
this
You know.
energy right in our faces, right in our hearts,
Oh,
shifting
absolutely.
our minds, right? I love the idea when I think about like Mercury and Uranus, these planets that are about communication, that are insisting we open our minds, like with a can opener, and release a lot of those old ideas.
Mm,
New ideas can come in, right? Like
yeah, yeah.
back to
I'm,
that
I'm just
flow.
I'm just chuckling at myself. We're recording this on the Aquarius moon, and my article today, my daily energy post, I put this picture of a brain with just all these colours in it and going, and I was like, all I could think of was that public announcement kind of ad that says, "This is your brain on drugs." It kind of feels like I'm on this planetary drug trip thing at the minute with all this energy.
That's right.
But it's a natural high, I hasten to add. Who cares if it wasn't?
Kind of, this is the point about getting, having discussion, getting excited, feeding in ideas, is that it starts to rewire your brain and starts to
Mhm.
rewire your responses. And hey,
Yeah.
it's fun, right? You feel everything starting to move inside of you.
Oh, it's shifting so fast.
It is.
Oh, well, should we move on to the symbols, or do you have anything else to mention about the chart and the numbers?
Well, I do think that, I don't know if we mentioned that Uranus has just gone.
Oh, direct. Yeah, I think I did on take one. I forgot to mention it on take two. Yeah, as we record, Uranus moved direct yesterday or the day before, and Eris turns direct on the 10th. And so by the time, the eclipse comes around, those two will be moving forward. Eris will have shifted a degree. And that's kind of important too, that, all these really slow things are finally kind of shifting degrees after a year of real slowing down and retrogrades. 2018 had so many retrogrades. No, I mean, all the usual ones plus Mars and Venus at the same time. And so that's kind of unusual to have so many together. Pluto moved to the 21st degree. But, well, he's, as we record, he's still at the 20 degree. On the eclipse, he'll be at the 21 degree. Eris turns direct at 22 degrees and 59 minutes of Aries, and by the time of the eclipse she'll have moved to the 23rd degree. So more energy changes really there, when just a degree change with the very slower outer planets it makes a big difference. So
Yes, yes. And I think it's fascinating that Pluto will be at 21 degrees for this eclipse, because, of course, I mentioned 21 is the number of truth. It also adds up to 3, which invites that playful energy, that community connection with yourself, with your environment, that rebalancing. So very exciting that it's helping us transform through truth, remembering that truth doesn't have to be a serious thing. It can be the playful, it's the fool, right? It's the hero. It's that energy of leaping into the unknown because you got everything you need. And then, of course, Aries at 23, that's the lion, the lion heart number. So very powerful, the most powerful number in numerology is the 20 and 5, freedom. So it's the number of freedom of life, the energy of life.
and I know most people listen on just audio, but we do put on this on YouTube too, and I actually have my lioness behind me on my green screen in honor of all this lion energy at the moment.
Exactly. And there is so much lioness kind of lore around the wolves, the lioness, all that lore around female energy of birthing that sense of dedication to who you are. The
Mm,
true meaning of virgin, right, is
yeah. One who is whole unto herself. Yeah.
that's right. And that's what this kind of feels like. It feels like, I know we've talked about it, but it really feels like the female energy is gathering momentum and
Mm,
is very kind of organized and dedicated to moving us along with this fire, with this breath, with this playfulness into this beauty, the sense of how beautiful life is in every moment, in every breath.
yeah. It's absolutely. So, do you want to look at the Sabian symbol, or shall I start with the?
I picked a card
Oh,
because
cool. Yes,
uh,
cool. Yes, we
this
didn't
is
do a
one
card
of
at the beginning.
the illuminating journey cards. It's number 11. I thought that was
Oh,
very interesting. 11, of course, the portal. And for those of you who can't see or listening on the podcast, there's a woman kind of entwined with roots, and she's kind of looking up between these columns, and this energy or these lightning and these different colors, this fire coming into her body. So she's connecting between
could you move
heaven
it a little closer? That's, yeah, that's better. There you go. You can see it better now.
Okay, good. Connecting to heaven and earth. So it's very much an opening of the self, like what we've been talking about, this idea of these female energies, right?
Mm,
Kind of awakening to who they are. All of us, male or female, awakening to that sense of the power that
mm.
lies within us when we connect between heaven and earth.
And
And
for those of you that can't see it too, it's got wonderful fiery colours. It's very phoenixy, and it's got a full moon on it too.
oh, looking from the back, but oh yeah, full moon, so perfect, right?
Yes.
It is feels like, she's pushing these walls apart as she
Mm.
kind of rises up to, step into the truth of who she is. And I think
But
that speaks well.
it's a very dancey, joyous card too. So
Yes,
it's coming back to that feeling of play. So
yes, absolutely.
yeah,
The joy of being in play with who you are, and not being afraid of your own power, right?
exactly.
That playing with it like clay.
Yes. Back to my sculpting.
Yes. That's what I thought just when I said it. I thought, oh, yes.
And again, we do have a lot of earth and water this year, but you'll hear more about that in the 29 overview if you join us. So shall I kick off with the Chandra symbol?
Yes.
I hope everybody can't hear all my animals. They're all decided to play with each other when we're on this. But, okay, so the Chandra symbol for the moon at Leo 0 degrees is Leo 1. So it's a divorced husband and wife enjoying each other's company. The little ego desires what it does not desire, needs what it does not need. It goes after most avidly what it later finds is so very different from what it would be good to have. But then things turn again, and even the most unconscious patterns reveal their redemptive glory. It all depends on where you are along the spectrum. The initial expansion, the inevitable contraction to follow, or the tempered and seasoned expansion later. In the middle point, it can be hell, but things start out so amazingly and they end up as such a gold mine of experience and self-understanding from all this. Much of life is midstream and involves meeting shadows, enduring reversals, and basically being forced to go absolutely everywhere you never wanted to go. But the reason it comes out right in the end is that you move through all of it and discover there is somebody in here who knows how to do that and who remains unscarred. And that's within you, of course, not even discouraged, and is waiting for the next opening to take up the earth's schooling in the way that fiery souls invite and welcome, strangely enough. They sometimes say a lot, these things, but to my mind that is saying kind of, that this energy, we've not really dwelled on the challenging energy of it, because we have said there could be earthquakes and things, and of course, as without, so within. But this is saying what we've been saying all the way through, that you can get through it and it's more about how you face it and how you approach it. So.
Exactly. I mean, to that point, we can name something as a struggle or difficult, or we can name it as something, an experience or an experiment. We don't have to stick to the traditional names. And sometimes when you have a tough experience, just name it something else. So you can then put that idea in your mind that you know nothing about it.
That's why I can't be a Buddhist, actually. All they talk about is struggle. They talk about enlightenment, but they talk about struggle. I was listening to Pema Chödrön, whatever her name is. She was on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, and all I could hear was the word struggle, so I had to turn it off. I was like,
yeah, enough of that.
It doesn't have to be a struggle.
No, and this is, I agree. Like, I find that we are conditioned to think of things as struggle, but now we have a choice, an opening, and we're going, hey, I'm going to name it something else. So I don't have to come with, oh, not this again, right? Good. Yeah, enough of the struggle. All right. So Sabian symbol. Blood rushes to a man's head as his vital energies are mobilized under the spur of ambition. The keynote, an eruption of biopsychic energies into the ego-controlled field of consciousness.
I don't think you need to read his his whole thing, because I think that sometimes he confuses it by his overlong interpretation, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
Just think of that image of the blood rushing to a man's head.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That says it all. You don't need any words around that.
No, I don't think so. No, it's very heightened energy, I will say, and I do have empathy. Some of you will be finding it all a little bit challenging, but where we are, you can come to our groups. We'll talk about where our Facebook groups are. You can choose to just play with us online or come and work with us to help you step into this more choosing to be empowered and joyful in your life. So
yes, and I wanted to just mention the point. That's all excellent, very true. You get to choose who you want to align with and who you want to work with, or what your focus is. This idea of ambition. What is your ambition? Not like the ambition that we talk about in terms of, oh, I got to have a career so everyone will think I'm somebody. More the ambition of your desire, your soul's ambition, to express yourself, experience life, and go, I'm choosing to have this experience. I'm choosing to move away from suffering or from people that are insisting that I stay there. So that's the kind of ambition that can really exit you from where you've been and excite your blood moving into your
exactly.
your body.
And back to the symbol I did quickly. I didn't kind of focus on the divorced husband and wife enjoying each other's company. That kind of, to me, speaks about, you've got, it's an eclipse, for heaven's sake. You've got your emotional body and your ego, which is the sun, your core, split with the earth in the middle. And yet they're kind of coming together also. So they're kind of split, but coming back together. And so I don't think it's anything about a divorced husband and wife particularly. I think it goes way deeper than that. It's about kind of integrating all that is you.
Yeah, and I think that's a really beautiful visual when you think about it in terms of, we tend to think of even like the planets or the eclipses as something very strifeful and shattering. And if you think about a divorced wife and husband coming together to enjoy each other's company, like they've been through the wars together, they know the story, right? And now they're like, you know what, we know how it goes, let's just enjoy a good time because we know each other. We have familiarity, but we don't have to linger with the pain. We can actually just enjoy the best things, the things that drew us together in the first place.
Exactly. I think it's going to be a good one, though, everybody. So, kind of buckle up. This energy for the start of 2019, well, for most of it, and into 2020 is pretty crazy, but
Yes, yes.
but it's pretty exciting too. So, so again, look out for our webinar for details coming up. But Jen, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Well, they can find me at jendushen.com. They can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, everywhere, Jen Dushen.
Cool. And same for me, Louise Eddington, louiseeddington.com. Google my name, you'll find me easily. I have a free Facebook group called Planetary Magic Cafe, or a Facebook page, Louise Eddington Astrologer. I'm on Twitter a bit, Instagram a bit, but mostly Facebook. And yeah, so that's it from me. Do you have any last words?
Oh yeah, I have a group on Facebook, the Light Club of the Woo Woo Weirdos of the World.
Woo! I love that name. I would never be able to remember it.
I have to think every time.
It's a bit like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's name.
I know.
Okay, everybody. So thanks again for joining us. And again, look out for our webinar details. Okay.